Hey guys, it's me, Tirza. Long time no see. It's been about 1.5 years since I last made a video. A lot has happened in that time period, so this may be a pretty long video. I'm not sure. But let me start fresh and all over. I'm Tirza. I'm 37 years old. My highest recorded weight, which was also my surgery consultation weight, was 330 pounds. I am 5'6". That means I had a BMI of 53.3. The date of surgery, after a self-inflicted 5-week pre-op diet, I weighed 294 pounds the day of surgery. In November, so I had the surgery, January 17th, 2012. As of November 17th, 2012, I weighed 165 pounds. I was at that weight for about 2 minutes, and I've been battling with a yo-yo dieting situation and massive regain for quite some time. Also, pardon my background because I see all these videos and you all have beautiful, clean, nice homes. My home is old, and this chick was not made to be a housewife because I've had a job since I was 12. I've been out of a job after I lost it for almost 2 years, and I feel so sorry for my husband. But my dishes are clean and there's always a home cooked meal, so that's a plus. Anyway, so my last video in December, I believe I weighed, 208.4 pounds. And I was about to go out for the holiday. I think the holiday was like in a week or so. And I wanted to get to at least 200 pounds. I'm happy to say I got to 202, I believe, come Christmas Eve. And then I didn't get back to you because, of course, I gained a little weight during the holiday. And I think I went up to like 208 again, and I just didn't want to report that. And then I did diet for a couple of weeks and I got back down to 200, and I was going to make a video, but I was starting to feel really sick, tired all the time, and I didn't know what was wrong. And then I went to a birthday party, and here's my thing. I definitely have a reaction to carbohydrates. They usually say like 2 weeks of, staying away from the sugars and the carbs, you should be fine and everything's hunky-dory and all that good stuff. I need at least a month. I will have a physical reaction and want to cheat and want to eat those foods if I do not have at least a month of full out, clean, very low carb eating. And at the point that I went to this party, I was months on the diet. And normally if I make that first month, you can eat all that food in front of me. Maybe there's a mental temptation, but there's no physical reaction. And I can generally stay away from the carbs. So this party, I was several months into, back on track, eating well. I was 200 pounds at this party. And all the food there, like I was literally, my stomach was hurting in knots. My mouth was salivating. Not an exaggeration, like foam, like coming out of my mouth. My brain was like, oh, eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it. And I refused to eat it because I'm like, there's no way. And I was so sick, and I felt so sick, and I knew I wanted to vomit when I went home. I did not vomit, but I knew something wasn't right. So the first step I took was to take a pregnancy test. And I was pregnant. So the weird thing is right before this happened, I have 3 kids. My oldest son, most people don't know, is actually my husband's biological child. His mom abandoned him about 6 or 7 months old. I've been dating my husband since he was 9 months old, and he's been a permanent part of my life since he was 1 year old. And he has been legally adopted for about 7 years. So I have my son and I have my 2 daughters, and I was getting older. I was going to be turning 36, I believe, at the time. So I didn't think it was the time to have more kids, and I actually had a schedule, even though it's against my religion, to get my tubes tied. But then I lost my job, I lost my insurance, and I got pregnant. So it was, I don't know how to explain it, because at first I was upset. One, because of the fact that I did not have a job and I did not have insurance in the very beginning. My husband's insurance kicked in about a month later, which was good because his insurance is better than mine. Also, financially, I didn't think it was a good idea to have another child in the situation. But that whole biological clock is ticking thing is totally legitimate, because I was having baby fever for a while. Every time I saw a baby, I'd get teary-eyed and like, oh, I'm never going to have a baby again. So part of me was also happy. And part of me felt a lot of guilt. I don't know if any of you guys watch Hope or Life of Hope on the YouTube community, but she's been struggling with infertility. And even though I do not know her, I love to watch her videos. She has a kind, sincere way about her that you feel like you know her, and you feel good when you watch her videos. She just comes off sincere. And I was devastated. And I honestly did not make another video because I was heartbroken for her. Why me? Why am I having a baby? Someone who wanted to get their tubes tied. And here I am, pregnant in the worst possible situation, with having lost my job. I'm getting older. And she desperately wants a baby, and I felt so sorry. And I prayed and I prayed, and I even said if there was a way to switch places with her, which now, I'm sorry, I would never say that, because my son is my joy. Say hi, Abby. Say hi. He is my joy, and I love him, and I'm so happy that I had him. But I couldn't help feeling guilty that something so tremendous happened to me when I wasn't planning on it. And here she's trying and trying, and she just goes one stumbling block, one barrier after another, and I just felt like crap. And I felt like I can't make these videos, because at first I thought maybe I'll continue to see if I will do tremendous weight gains like I did with my other two pregnancies. Well, actually, that's not true. With my daughter Abigail, I gained 100 pounds during the 9 months, and after that is when I suffered with morbid obesity. With my daughter Antonia, Nini, I was already 280 pounds to start with, and I was 160 pounds to start with my older daughter. So I was already 280 pounds. I actually did not gain a single pound with her. I think because I was at such a high weight, I just didn't gain any weight. I stayed the same weight. With Abraham, not that you can tell by looking at me in this video, because guys, I'm not gonna lie, I weigh 276 pounds. Wah, wah. That means I am only, let me see, I don't even know. I think I wrote it down somewhere. I'm 54 pounds less than my highest, so that my 100 pounds lost is completely gone, let alone my 165 pounds lost. And I am only 18 pounds less than I was on my surgery date. So in a way, uh-oh, what's the matter, Daddy? I am actually excited to do my videos in a way. I'm totally mortified and embarrassed, and it's so stupid. And actually last week I weighed 4 pounds more than I do now. But I had to feel brave to make these videos. And how pathetic is that you need courage to just say what's the truth and what the truth is. But I look forward to going on this journey, because I made my videos after I was already within my goal range. So nobody really went on the journey with me. So I'm excited to, bring you guys along, because even though statistics say if you're 45, if you have a BMI of 45, almost 50% of the people gain all of their weight back within 2 years. And then there's only like a 5% range of people who are successful for the long haul. And so I'm proving these statistics 100% correct, and I refuse to be that statistic. I want to be in that 5% that does well, because my starting BMI was 53.3 and it's currently 44.5. So I want to get into the being under 30, which is where my doctor wants me to be. So 29, a BMI of 29. That's my goal. So I'm trying to get between 170 and well, I'd still like to get back to the 165. So I'd like a cushion of 165 to 175 is where I'm aiming for. But I also want to tell you guys another experience. I had severe PTSD. So I had preeclampsia with both of my daughters, and giving birth to your child basically alleviates those symptoms. With Abraham, I did well. I did not gain that much weight. I was 206 pounds for the first 2 or 3 months. Then I jumped up to 220, and I remained at 220 for quite a long time. And the very last month, I jumped from 220 in like 1.5 months to 250. But I was severely like edema on my legs. It was so uncomfortable and so bad. I never had that or experienced that with my other children. But I did not have preeclampsia. My blood pressure was good the whole pregnancy, and I never had any proteins in my urine. So anyway, because of my age and because of my history of preeclampsia, we still decided for inducement. So he was due September 13th, 2016, and I went in to have him to September 6th. I did not give birth to him until September 7th. I was in labor for, I think, over 14 hours. I've never experienced that either. I've had crappy pregnancies where I felt like crap and sick the whole time. I did with him too. I actually thought I was having an ectopic pregnancy for the longest because of pains. But other than the pains that I was having in my gut and the first couple of months of fatigue, I felt really good. Never vomited, not once, even though I had severe nausea. Anyway, all my daughters, the longest I gave, it was in labor for, was 5.5 hours. So to be in labor for so long was really frustrating. I also can't take the epidural. The 2 times that I had it, I had a very bad reaction. But after like 10 hours, I believe, of being in labor, enough was enough. And I explained my reaction, and we decided that I would get the epidural because the pain was so bad. They could not get it in. It took 2 anesthesiologists, I'm assuming that's the correct term, and about 4 kits to finally get an epidural in place. And then what had happened after an hour or so in labor, and they thought I was 10 centimeters dilated, and then I wasn't. The skin was flapping, and their hands are all the way up my hoo-ha, and I'm so uncomfortable, and I'm pushing and pushing, and nothing's happening. The baby's vitals started to go down. So what happened was I had to be wheeled into emergency cesarean operation. So I'm so blessed that it took them 2 hours to get the epidural in, and they were going to quit because they actually said, if this one doesn't go in, you're not getting one, because then I would have had no pain management or medication during the surgery. So that being said, while they're doing all that, and I'm a nervous wreck, and I'm praying Our Father, I would not say Hail Mary because I refused to say in the hour of our death. I was a nervous wreck. I actually had my artery nicked, and I lost about half of my blood, and I was required to have a blood transfusion during the surgery, and I was so scared because you can hear everything they're saying. Oh my God, she's bleeding, she's bleeding. We need to find where it is to stamp it out. Suction, suction, suction. You're hearing all this going on, and I'm telling them that I can feel everything, not as much as if someone's slicing through you and you feel it, but the pain was there. So say if the pain is supposed to be dulled up to 10 and you feel nothing, I was like at a 4 where I was feeling things. I could feel all the pressure. I could feel as they were throwing my organs onto my stomach and my lap. I felt when they were ripping him out of my stomach, and I'm going, and they're like not believing me that I'm feeling this. And my husband's getting pissed off. It was just a mess. But they were able to sew the artery back together, and I'm here, so that's awesome. And he was lodged, my son was lodged into my left side, and that was why he wasn't coming out. So, but I have my handsome man, I'm so happy. So what else happened? So they kept me in the hospital for a while, and I got to stay like in my own private thing for a minute because of the fact of what had happened with the artery and the blood transfusion. And I was there for a couple of weeks because my blood was not going back up to a normal range. It was still, the hemoglobins and all those levels were very, very low. I required a second blood transfusion. And then I was dizzy and I couldn't move, and everything was a mess the whole time I was there. But eventually I was cleared to go home, and I went home. My blood pressure was completely normal. I wasn't on any medication. And a day after I was there, my blood pressure was through the roof. So I made an appointment with my doctor, and my blood pressure was very high, and she prescribed a medication, and she wanted me to come back in 2 days. So I took the medication, one that was good for lactation, and I went back in the 2 days, and my blood pressure was high. But when I went there, she said, "Oh, congratulations, your blood pressure is really good. The medicine is working. You can go on and go home." Oh, I meant to say in my first appointment, they took a urine, because apparently you can get preeclampsia after giving birth, which I never heard of. Like, I had it with both of my children, and then giving birth solved the problem. With Abraham, I did not have preeclampsia at all the whole time. So they checked it, and there was no protein in the urine. What's up, Dad? So, that being said, she called me on my merry way. That night, I was like a crazy person, constantly taking my blood pressure. My blood pressure kept on going up and up and up and up and up. And it was like 190 over 120. So I said to my husband, could he watch the baby? And I asked my mom to take me to the hospital. And she said, you know what the doctor said, your blood pressure was fine, just give it some time. I took my blood pressure again, and it was like 200 over 125. It went up. So I said, no, we need to go. And she agreed, and we went to the hospital. Oh, I forgot, when I was in the hospital too, I also had an issue with my bladder where I was in excruciating pain, and I told them, take the cath out now. I have to go to the bathroom. They kept on giving me a bolus and more fluid because I wasn't releasing any fluid, and I was in excruciating pain. They didn't believe me. I said, please take it out. No, if you have to pee, we can't take the cath out. We can't take the cath out. Thank God an old head nurse came in there and was like, listen, she could have a blood clot. She had a cesarean. Flush the line. She flushed the line, and TMI, they filled 4 containers with urine, and then it still spilled out onto the damn floor. Okay? And then the nurse felt bad because she thought I was just being like an exaggerator and complaining just to complain. And she felt so sorry, and they basically said my bladder could have burst. So to me, that was like 2 near-death experiences for me in this situation. So now, back to the blood pressure. We go to the emergency room, and they decide that I should go back to the maternity ward. They're checking my vitals the whole time, and my blood pressure keeps on increasing slightly. They gave me a blood pressure medication, and my blood pressure was still increasing. So I had to get rushed into this treatment called magnesium, a 24-hour mag treatment, and where you're IV, like some magnesium treatment, and you have to be watched because they have to make sure your lungs and heart don't fill with fluid, because that is a reaction that can happen from magnesium. I am so glad that did not happen to me. But me and magnesium are not friends. My mom dropped me off thinking it was going to be nothing. They were going to lower my blood pressure, and it was going to be... I could not move. I felt like someone whose whole body was in a coma, but my mind and my mouth could still work totally fine. I had to have the nurse, I still remember her name, Damaris. She had to call my mother and tell her what was going on and to explain it to my husband, that this was a much more serious occurrence, and that I was on anti-seizure medicine, and that apparently I had preeclampsia after the fact, even though this was weeks later. Because mind you, I was in the hospital for weeks with a cesarean. So that was horrifying. It was I was ticking down and counting backwards all the minutes, hours, everything until that 24 hours was up because I couldn't move and it was scary. I think about 12 hours in, I was starting to have more mobility, I guess, as my body adapted to the medication. And I don't know if anyone else has ever had a reaction like that to the mag. Anyway, so this is all part of why I didn't make any videos either. The only good thing about the mag is that all of my fluids came out, so that when I did my follow-up after I was released from the hospital and went to see my doctor, I went from 250 to 210. So I had 40 pounds of fluid in my body. That's nuts. So now, after having my baby, we're 2 months in, and I'm 210 pounds. So how did I go from 210 pounds and actually 280? I'm 276 after losing 4 pounds. How did that happen? Well, I was feeling really depressed. Not about my baby. Oh, he's a joy. I love him. Not about my family life. I love my husband. I mean, we have typical problems like everybody else, but I'm keeping them. We're good to go. My mom is wonderful. There's nothing to be depressed about. I mean, financially maybe, but nothing to be sad about. But I had PTSD. And everything scared me. I couldn't control my blood pressure. It was very high. When I went back to see my doctor, the verdict was I had to stop taking the blood pressure medicine that was for lactation, and I was put on two separate medications at their highest milligrams. That is very depressing to me because being 210, normally if I'm 210, I'm probably still on a blood pressure medication, but I'm on a lower dose, one pill, low form. And normally if I'm 190 and under, I'm on no medication at all. So this was kind of heartbreaking. Also, she discovered I had what's called labile blood pressure, and she was very concerned, and my cholesterol was a little elevated. And she said that she was concerned and she wanted me to see a heart specialist because she couldn't understand why I was having this labile blood pressure, which basically means like I could have a 120/80 reading and not moving a muscle, not doing anything, take my blood pressure 5 minutes later and it's 150/90. So what did I do? Did I say, shit, my health is having a problem and I need to take care of this? I did not. I went home and I changed how I ate because I was no longer breastfeeding. And I tried to diet the way I know how, keep low carbing. And the weight was not coming off. I actually gained a pound. I tried it another week and I didn't lose any weight. I stayed the same. And even though she said I might have a heart condition or whatever, I never made the appointment for the heart specialist. And I was so frustrated by not being able to lose any weight at all in 2 weeks. And as a matter of fact, gaining a pound, I said, F it. This is so much trouble. What's the point? And I just went bananas. And I ate whatever I wanted, how much I wanted. I didn't care. I just didn't care. I should have been grateful. I'm alive. But I thought it was a technicality and something was going to happen to just come in there. So what was the point of torturing myself on this diet and I wasn't losing any weight? So that brings me to now. And I think I still have a lot of problems and fear of dying. And I can't watch certain shows or talk about certain things. I freak the hell out. I already had like generalized panic disorder. I used to have severe panic attacks as a teen. Up until about 22, I had a mass on my right frontal lobe. And after having brain surgery, that definitely decreased my panic attacks. So I still had anxiety, but it was never quite as terrible and severe as it was when I was younger. So this doesn't help that. That just exasperates everything. So that brings me to now. I think my fog is gone of giving up. I don't want to give up. I have 4 kids, and my husband's a better mom than I am, but they need their mommy, and I don't want to go anywhere. So I did make the cardiologist appointment. I'll be going on the 1st, and we'll see what goes from there. I'm actually scared to go to my doctor because if she sees I gained 60 pounds or 66 pounds, I don't know. But I am going to try to be much more consistent with this, not like I was in the past, and try to update you guys on my weight every week. Take care, everybody. God bless.